What is up, guys? Today we're gonna go for a bit of a POV therapy drive in the GTI. Let's go ahead and get it woken up. Because, yeah, this video is just gonna be a bit of a therapy drive. I've done POV videos in the past. They're probably one of my favorite type of videos to make. So yeah, if you're new to my channel, holy crap, that wasp scared the crap out of me. If you're new to my channel, this is my 2017 VW GTI. This is a Mark 7 with a hybrid turbo DSG car. I adore this car. I've had it for a very long time. I've had it for just a little north of 4 years. I daily drive it. I've done mountain runs. I've done autocross. I've done track days. I've done it all with this car. I've had a lot of fun experiences with it. And so we're going to take it out for a bit of a drive today. So there's a quick therapy drive. I'm going to go get some lunch. I've been working from home a lot lately, and I just want to go and get some good food and enjoy a little bit of therapy driving in this car. So Georgia has already been getting hit with some pretty aggressive pollen. You guys might not be able to see it as well on camera, but it's got a pretty good thin layer of yellow on it. So yeah, she's a little dirty, which is unfortunate after I spent all that time washing it before the last video when we went to that car show, which was a fun story in and of itself that I'll kind of gloss over because it's actually something that more than likely has resulted in legal charges involving someone involved with this incident. And as someone who works in the court system, I know better than anybody else, do not discuss cases in extreme detail. So I'm going to go over just a little bit of something that happened after that video was filmed because it was quite an interesting thing. But let's go ahead and wake the GTI up for our little POV drive. Blend door actuator makes a lot of racket sometimes. I've done enough cold start videos. Y'all know what this car sounds like. So yeah, I'm gonna get moving. We're gonna get on the road, and then I'm gonna talk about this incident that happened, and then, you know, kind of just talk in general about, you know, the project car stuff I talked about at the end of the last video as well, and what that means for this car coming up in the next year or so. You know, I mean, the project car will happen probably in the next couple of months, but yeah, so we're gonna go have a good little drive in the GTI, talk about life and project cars and all that good stuff, and have a good little POV drive in this thing. All right, so we're on the road now. Yeah, let's talk real quick about this incident that happened after my last video, the debriefing video, wrapped up filming. So we left this Viva La Vida show. Me and my dad went and, you know, hung out with all these air-cooled cars and a handful of water-cooled stuff, mostly air-cooled stuff. Is that a Gran Turismo? And like, that is one of the most random cars I would never expect to see out here as a it was a dealer tag too. Someone just bought it. Interesting. Anyway, my ADHD doing ADHD things as always. So yeah, we're on our way to go to Z1 Motorsports to go visit my friend Kaysen, who works there. He works some Saturdays, and you know, we had nothing better to do, so we were like, oh, let's go bother Kaysen for a little bit, go check out the showroom. My dad's never been there. I've been there quite a bit. That's actually where I get my oil for this car, as I go up to Z1 to pick it up personally, since I live so close by. And we're just driving, and me and my dad are just sitting there cruising. We got music playing at the windows down, just having a good time, good father-son time. All of a sudden, there's police sirens, and then I see something kind of speed by, and then I see a police car right behind it, lights on and everything, and then I hear boom, and I look in my rearview mirror, the car directly behind me, and I'm talking like literally a car length difference. I'm not talking like, oh, he was like a football field behind me and I was way ahead of him. No, the car directly behind me got T-boned by a car and was totaled out, completely totaled, absolute disaster. Speaking of the police, you know, it was a super scary thing because I'm just driving, minding my business, and all of a sudden a car gets totaled out directly behind me. I'm not gonna give a whole lot of details on it because I am absolutely sure, considering the circumstances, there are charges being filed on that case. Whereas, you know, otherwise, if nothing came out of it, I probably wouldn't be so cautious. But again, I work in the court system. This is something I see every day. Car crashes, I work medical malpractice cases, I've worked murder, I've worked vehicular homicide, I've worked so many different types of cases that, you know, I know how to, you know, tell stories without going so in depth as to compromise a case. And that's why I'm not like, oh, this is why the wreck happened. This is why this happened. I'm just telling you guys, I saw police lights. There was a wreck. I'm not going to really dive into it any further. I don't know when I will be able to, if I ever feel the need to. I feel like that honestly is enough information to be like, oh yeah, y'all kind of get the gist of what's going on. But yeah, super scary. Pulled over, gave statements to Georgia State Patrol, got to see the you know, those boys show up and chat with them for a minute. I see them all the time during my line of work, so it's nice to get to chat with them, you know, not with the circumstances, but, you know, to talk with them outside of the courtroom that I typically find myself working in. So yeah, that happened. Super scary thing, but that's that. So the project car stuff. At the end of the last video, I mentioned briefly that I'm looking at getting a project car in the next couple of months. I finally am in a situation where I've earned enough money to start banking money away towards it, and I'm making that money kind of quickly. So my plan is sometime in May or June, depending on what finances look like, what comes up with the house and my wife and all that kind of stuff. That's probably going to be our window to where I start looking for cars. I'm willing to travel a good bit of ways if I find the right one, but I'm going to be upfront with you guys. The car that is most likely to happen is going to be a Mark IV Jetta 2.8. And the reason for that is, one, as much as I love the 1.8T, I already have a turbo 4-cylinder VW. I don't want to. The reason I'm not looking at GTIs with the 2.8 is, again, I already have one GTI. I don't need two. I'd rather try a different no, I wouldn't say platform, because I mean, it's just a freaking VW. I mean, it's no different than this car. But, you know, is that a Sport Track pulling that thing? Having had one of those, mine would have exploded. Little scrub. But yeah, I want to try something that is a bit different from this car, but strangely familiar as well. And that's why I'm not going to something completely different. I want something that I have all the tools to work on already, and I don't need to, you know, worry about having to go shopping for more stuff. You know what I mean? And that really led me down to, you know, and plus wanting a VR6 so bad, as that's become kind of my focus, is VR6s and stuff like that. I really want to get my own VR6 car. And really, with a manual transmission, which was my other big requirement, I have only a handful of options for super cheap, which is Mark IVs and older. And I've almost bought a Corrado 2 years ago. I'm scared of them because they have so many electrical problems and parts availability is non-existent on these things. I don't want to bankrupt myself trying to find these extra parts and spend months and months with the car down for stuff that's relatively simple to fix because I can't get the parts anywhere. So at the end of the day, I decided, you know, probably not going to go for anything Mark III. Obviously Mark V stuff. I mean, the only VR6 platform the Mark V's ever had was like the Audi A3 and the Mark V R32, which didn't come in manual. And that's my big sticking point, is I want 3 pedals. I'm not really interested in doing a swap for my first real project. I want a car that's manual with a VR that I can just jump into and go. And I chose the Jetta specifically because I want something a little bit different than having 2 Golfs. I love the Mark IV Jetta as well. It's one of my favorite cars ever made. And, you know, especially the 1.8T stuff and especially the VR stuff, especially in Europe, because they've got the Bora 4Motion, which is really cool, which is just an all-wheel drive 2.8 Jetta. I absolutely love that. So I've always said the Mark IV is probably my favorite gen of Jetta as well. Like, the new stuff is right behind it, but that's kind of my thought process, is something like that. And I'm about to go order my food here. No, it doesn't look like it because I'm at a gas station, but there is a Wendy's attached to this, so I'm gonna go and order that, and I'll be back with you guys in a moment. All right, guys, just picked up lunch. I don't know what is going on over here, but you're like right in my way. So yeah, I'm choosing the Mark IV for a couple different reasons, but one of those reasons being simplicity. This is a platform that I love to death. And you know, the VR6 is probably my favorite engine of all time right now. And you know, I have a soft spot for the Mark IV chassis, all that kind of stuff. There's still a pretty good sized part support from either OEM or aftermarket, especially aftermarket. It was a super popular chassis, of course not to the same vein as the Mark IV GTI, but you know, it was a really good platform for modifications and having fun and all that kind of stuff. It's exactly what I'm looking for in a project car. Pretty reliable as well. The VR6 is pretty well known for being bulletproof. It's got a couple of different problems, much like any car, and you know, extremely well documented because people love to really give VW the boot when it comes to reliability. But The VR6 is extremely well known for being super reliable. It was originally engineered to be a diesel engine, so it's got a lot of characteristics of diesels, just being a gas burner. And it's a really solid engine. It's really good. It's built well. It's super strong. And I think, honestly, for a platform that I love so much, I think it's the perfect place to go. Obviously, in a perfect world, if it was not going to be super budget focused and it was something I was going to save up for years to get, Mark IV R32 is the obvious choice here. But for wanting something inexpensive that isn't going to be quite as sentimental as this car, because I am super sentimental about this car, this GTI specifically, I think it's a really good choice. I think it's a car that I'm going to get attached to, of course, as I do with all my cars. Even my Sport Track, I was rather attached to it. But it's something that is not going to be as, you know, big on my heartstrings as this car. And I think that's going to be beneficial, because obviously if I got an R32, I'm not going to want to go balls to the wall track build like I plan on kind of doing with this Jetta, because it's an R32. I don't want to ruin it. I want it to be, you know, fairly, you know, high condition, pretty much a show car. Whereas a Mark IV Jetta with a VR6, you know, it's the small VR6. It's a pretty common chassis. I can beat the snot out of it and it not bother me one bit. So that's really kind of my choice, is why I'm going with the Jetta and the Mark IV specifically. Is, you know, not another GTI. It's a really good platform. It's really well documented. It's super reliable and all that kind of stuff. I think, honestly, I will be the most happy with that car. Sure, not an R32, but I think for a project car, it's a great start. And I'm looking for only a handful of really things that are kind of a stickler for me. Obviously, the manual is number one. I will not look at it if it's not a manual. I really want a sunroof car. I've only owned slick tops, like both this and my Sport Track were both slick top cars. So I really want to get a sunroof car. And if it's already blue, that'd be awesome, because that's the color I'm going for. If it's not blue, it's no big deal. I'll probably just wrap it or a Nagaro blue from Audi, or get it painted if I really feel the need to. But more than likely, it'll be, if I can find a blue one, a Jazz Blue car that's already got the 2.8 and a sunroof, I'll be pretty happy. But as far as I know, the sunroof standard on VR6 Mark IVs, because it was only available on the upper trims anyway. But I don't know for sure on that. I'm more of a Mark 7 expert than I'm a Mark IV expert, so I could be easily proven wrong. So yeah, I think that's kind of the move I'm going to be going towards, is some level of a Mark IV Jetta with the VR6. I'm not entirely opposed to 12-valve cars, but I really want the 24 just because they're a bit more powerful out of the box, and I can pretty much build a Jetta R32 if I really wanted to out of those with relative ease, because the 3.2 just drops into a 24-valve setup. You know, they don't have to do engine mounts, you don't have to do the harness, you don't have to do the ECU. It's just a plug and play kind of deal. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards the 3.2 or the 2.8 24 valve, so I can do the 3.2 later in life and kind of build a R32 Jetta of sorts, if I really love that car. Now, of course, if it's really something that I'm just like, it's okay, it gets the job done, you know, I'll save up for an R32 at some point, which I'm hopefully going to get to experience at Wookiees. I've been shy about it, but I'm probably going to make a post on the Wookiees, you know, Facebook group, trying to get a ride in a Mark IVR during Wookiees this year, since I will be going to that. That's a cat. So yeah, I guess we're gonna kind of close this out. This is usually my pull spot, but with people walking on the street and, you know, this home construction going on, I'm gonna behave. I don't want to be a nuisance to these guys. Gotta respect the drive. I know this thing is rowdy, it sounds good, all that good stuff, but you know, I gotta be respectful. So thank you guys so much for watching this little POV drive and listening to me rattle on about project cars and stuff like that. It's not gonna spell the end of this car. There's gonna be a lot of stuff to still happen with this car. It's just gonna slow down a lot as that car gets focused. But thank you guys. I'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day. All right, guys, so I'm closing this video out in my garage. You guys have seen this in the background of a lot of my videos. This is my license plate wall, so this has a lot of significance to me. These are all states that I've visited in my lifetime, and now that I've gotten married, this will be populated by states that me and my wife will have visited together. Yeah, there's a lot of them up here, as you guys can see. Not really as much as my wife has visited. My wife has visited 48 of the 50 states. So if I did the states that only she had visited, I would need a bigger garage. So There's a lot of significance with some of these plates that you guys see here. These two up top, these two Georgia plates, which is my home state, actually carry significance because of the cars they were on. So this one up top is the custom front plate that I had on my Sport Track, my very first car. I don't have the original rear plate, the Send It plate. A lot of people probably wonder what that happened to that. I was under the assumption back then that when you deregistered a car in Georgia, you had to return in the license plate. I didn't know that you couldn't. So I turned in the Send It plate. And I regret it so much because now that I know that you don't have to turn them in, you can easily keep them. This one is the plate that was originally on the GTI because since the Sport Track was actually registered in my dad's name, I couldn't transfer the Send It plate from the Sport Track to the GTI. That was actually my original plan. So this was the plate that came with it, and I eventually wound up getting the current plate that I have on the car now a little bit later. Tennessee, of course, and then Alabama, just because I've traveled through there a lot. I've done track days there now. This one's probably my favorite. I went to DC last year. I've been there twice. Not my favorite place in the world, honestly. The people there kind of suck. There were some good people, but I didn't enjoy it all that well. This plate's from 1968. And then, don't really want to highlight the rest of them all that much. I have family here, went to the beach here a lot, traveled through here, Tail the Dragon, and passed through there. So this plate was the last one that I was waiting on, and I have a friend that lives in this state that I was hoping had a plate, but he never found one to send me for this wall. And this is the first time I've seen it. So it's stamped, so that's cool. But yeah, it's Virginia. So let's see what kind of Virginia plate we got. We've got a 2007 plate from the 400th anniversary. That's really, really cool, actually. I'm really excited about this. I did not know what this looked like when I got it. I got it from eBay from a seller that kind of does a mystery kind of pack, if you want to call it that. They don't know what you're getting. You just know what state it's from. You pick the state. That's actually how almost all of these, except for the two Georgia plates and the Alabama plate, came through. So pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to hang it up real fast, and then we'll have the full plate wall. All right, Virginia's on the wall. So we got all these plates now. I'm excited to get to add more to these pretty soon. I'm hoping I'll be able to travel to some new states I haven't been to. You can kind of tell I haven't really left the continental, southeast all that much. So yeah, pretty exciting to hopefully get to experience some new places.